right, more eruptions in the DA party. Patricia de Lille is gone. She resigned in a dramatic fashion. Of course, we'd expect nothing less, saying she feels abused. She's also going to fight what she's called a politically manipulated Bowman Gilfillan report, which implicated her in criminal wrongdoing. We have the DA's Deputy Federal Executive Chair, Natasha Mazzone, to explain what this all means. She's in Cape Town. Hello, Natasha. Does the DA hate Patricia de Lille, as she claims?
Hello, Jane. Certainly not, Jane. Jane, this has been a narrative that Patricia de Lille has been trying to run for the past 18 months. I think the problem is it's the first time ever in South Africa we've seen a political party hold one of their own accountable. And it's something that shocked the nation. It's not something that we've seen often, but we are the party of accountability and transparency. And no matter what the reputational cost, we had to do what we thought was right.
Because she and many of her supporters feel that the party is gunning for her, as she repeated again today. The DA's lost and she's won 3 court cases. So what's different this time?
Well, what's different this time, Jane, is all the court cases before dealt with internal DA disciplinary matters. They dealt with the actual DA constitution as opposed to the national constitution or any national statutory laws. This time, an independent investigation that was not commissioned by the Democratic Alliance, it was commissioned by the city of Cape Town itself, has found Patricia de Lille to be possibly guilty of criminal infractions and therefore has suggested that criminal charges be laid. The Speaker of the Cape Town City Council has laid those charges, and that's what makes this completely different, is it's not the DA versus Patricia de Lille, it's actually the City of Cape Town versus Patricia de Lille.
She also says that she wants the party to test the evidence. I mean, does she have a point there? She wants, or she challenges any DA member to come forward if they have evidence against her. Is that another way of sort of diverting from your findings, or does she have reason to believe that they are unjustified?
Well, I think everything has been a point of diversion. It's been the tactic from word go. It's the reason that for the last week we've been guessing, do I stay, do I go, am I staying, am I going? It was all part of a diversion plan up until the very last minute. As you said, a dramatic exit. We expected nothing less. Also a dramatic exit of 7 councillors that went along with Mr. Lille, showing that they weren't members of a party, they were members of a member. The fact of the matter is this: the court case and that will now come up because of this Bowman Gilfillan report has absolutely nothing to do with the DA. It has to do with the city of Cape Town. So Mr. Lille must stop trying to conflate the issues. This is not the DA versus de Lille. This is de Lille versus the city of Cape Town.
She also says that Bowman Gilfillan is colluding with politicians, and I'm just putting that to you off the back of what you've just said. Is there any truth in that?
There is absolutely no truth to that whatsoever. And personally, I think Bowman Gilfillan should be highly offended by a statement like that being made. And I'm sure they will test that statement very strongly in court and defend it very strongly in court.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on, obviously. But Patricia de Lille says she didn't get what she was promised when she joined forces with the Western Cape Premier Helen Zille. Let's just listen to that. So we're going to step back a bit before we deal with what's happening today.
And so now the project that Helen Zille and myself started, which was to build an alternative to South Africa, it's gone now. So I will listen to what people say to me, and give me 2 weeks and I will be ready to roll. Just watch the space.
Again, that's going to her comments about how the party has changed, that she feels victimized, because what they both set out to do in the beginning is no longer the case within the party. Does she have a point there?
I certainly don't think she has a point. When Patricia de Lille joined the party and the ID merged with the DA, at the time it was absolutely the right thing to do. We needed to unify the opposition. The fact of the matter is the Democratic Alliance is a party that's growing. We've shown consistent growth over the last 2 elections. In all by-elections that we fought recently, we continue to show our growth. So certainly not the case that building an alternative to the ANC has stopped. I think we've proven more than ever that we are the only viable alternative to the ANC. We are the party that exposed state corruption, state capture. We've exposed the VBS scandal. And once again, Jane, I must add, I think that what's created the shock and drama is that we are the first political party to actually take the bold step of holding one of our senior members accountable. And it's something that South Africa simply isn't used to.
Why has it taken this long? I mean, disciplinary hearing charges were dropped against her if she said that she would resign. I mean, why have we not heard what those are? Should this not have been dealt with a lot earlier? Because, I mean, look at the damage that it has done. You say the party is growing, but there's been incredible damage done to its reputation because of de Lille and those who followed her.
Jane, I think that, and I've said this many times, I do think that we should have been more transparent in the way in which we did our internal processes. But we aren't transparent because we do try and protect those that are having the cases against them. But, you know, the situation has got to the point where, you know, every time we tried to have a disciplinary hearing with Ms. de Lille, her attorneys would come and raise points in limine. In fact, I would go so far as to say I have never met a person who so desperately asked for a day in court but begged not to actually have it. So every time we tried to finalize a particular case, a point in limine was raised. And as you know, in all legal cases, the DA is no different. These things take time and they protract and they just deviate from the actual issue at hand, which is exactly what's happened. And all the cases that have been before the courts at the moment, none of them deal with the actual substance like the Bowman Gilfillan report deals with. They all dealt with internal DA processes.
Do you think that the party went off Patricia de Lille when she started, or when she was seen as being, excuse me, increasingly poor within the city of Cape Town, making it more mixed and accessible to all?
I find that statement absolutely ludicrous when Patricia de Lille says we went off her because she was pro-poor. The Democratic Alliance has proudly been the party that stands for the rights of the poor. One of our fundamental principles is jobs, jobs, jobs. We do everything to grow the economy, to bring people out of poverty. We do it where we govern across the country, in the Johannesburg Metro, in the Tshwane Metro. We were doing exactly the same thing in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. It's something that we pride ourselves on doing. So certainly to say that Patricia de Lille was the savior that came in to show the Democratic Alliance the way is simply not true. And one can go and look at past manifestos to see exactly what our plans were to uplift the poor in South Africa.
Okay, but Natasha, something is clearly rotten in the party. Again, you say that it's growing, but is it growing in the right direction? So, you know, she feels as though she's been victimized. There are many who support her. You've got 7 other councillors stepping down. That's quite a statement that there is something wrong.
Certainly there was something wrong in the city of Cape Town, without a doubt. There was a faction in the city of Cape Town that became pro-de Lille versus pro-the DA. And quite frankly, you know, if you don't adhere to the DA's major principles, an open opportunity society, a diverse society, an accountable society. If those aren't the principles that you adhere to, then you don't belong in the Democratic Alliance. And when you don't see yourself as being part of the party, but rather a member of a member in the party, then the Democratic Alliance is not the party for you. I do think that with the introduction of Dan Plato coming into the city, I think he's going to be a very stabilizing factor. I think he's going to bring giving a very even hand to a caucus that has been very traumatized. I think if one looks at abuse, I don't think anyone has been more abused in this situation than Mmusi Maimane himself, being called the most horrific racist names and slurs in the last couple of days, both by Ms. de Lille and those that left with her. And
yeah,
these are clearly people that do not espouse DA values.
How does he deal with this, being a black man,
Sure.
head of the party? So many people say that he's nothing more than a puppet. You've got Patricia de Lille and her supporters sort of backing that. What sort of damage does that do to him and the reputation of the party?
Well, I think it does absolutely no damage to him whatsoever, because Mmusi has proven over and over again that he's a man of the people. He's an incredibly popular leader, and he's an incredibly good leader as well. I think it's disappointing that someone of the caliber of Patricia de Lille would look at a young black man like Mmusi and assume that he must be a puppet because he's young and black and therefore can't lead a political party the size of the DA. And I think nothing could be further from the truth. And I think the fact that Mmusi has gone far and beyond the call of being a gentleman in this entire situation, never losing his cool, always looking to find a middle ground with Ms. de Lille and looking for a solution to this problem, goes a long way to show what caliber of leader we have in Mmusi Maimane, and I've never been prouder to serve under him.
All right, Natasha, we've got a caller from Cape Town. Alfreda, go ahead. Hello, Alfreda, do you have a question for
Yes, I do
my
have
guest?
a question for Ms. Mazzone. I'm sure she must have heard about my emails or read my emails. My question is, I'd like to know from Ms. Mazzone where she gets the stats from, because as a person of colour from Cape Town, I'm definitely not interested in what's going on. This infighting and political games that's being played, and everybody's blaming and shaming. However, I just feel as a person of colour, the DA currently is losing its coloured members. Why? Because there seems to be this ongoing fighting relating to Mr. Law. And whether she's guilty or not, at the end of the day, if there's supposed to be maintenance, then come up with the stats of how many colours are still going to vote for the DA. Because as a professional person, I actually don't think, I have always rooted for the DA, but the rate things are going on now, it's actually pathetic. And based on my emails that I have seen to Mmusi Maimane, I am stunned at what I see every day, what's happening here in Cape Town. Thank you.
Alfreda, how do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, you know, polls are changing on a daily basis. I can't give you exact stats because, you know, if we had exact stats, we'd know exactly who was going to win the next election. We don't. Polls change on a daily basis, and they'll change as we move closer to the election. What I can say is this: we agree that this issue has gone on for far too long. It should have never become a public spat as it did. We know that it's caused confusion and anger in the city of Cape Town. We have asked, when we have apologized many times for the confusion that it's caused. But what I can promise you is this: the mandate to our councillors and to our officials in the city of Cape Town is a very simple one. We expect excellent service delivery, and it's now our job to get on the streets every day to win back the trust and faith of the people of the city of Cape Town.
Look, if you do deal with corruption and clean out members, and I'm not saying Patricia de Lille is wrong, but if you do clean out members that are not doing it for the party, then I guess that is admirable if you look at what's happening with the ANC, and you can certainly collect votes there. But it seems that the message coming from the DA needs to be clearer and a more positive one. In light of that, Natasha, let me just ask you about these resignation letters concerning Patricia de Lille. She said that one wasn't presented by her, and then we got the official one today. What is the story behind that? She said that a game was being played here. Was this an exercise in pushing her to leave early?
So, Jane, in August, in fact August the 4th, Mmusi Maimane and Patricia de Lille had a joint press conference. It was widely covered on ENCA. They announced that they'd reached a political settlement, and that part of the settlement would be the internal DA charges. That means the charges that were internal and around our constitution, nothing to do with any statutory body or the South African constitution, would be dropped. And because they were being dropped, Patricia de Lille would resign on the 31st of October 2018. She gave Mr. Maimane on the day her resignation letter that stated that on the 31st of October she would resign as mayor of the city of Cape Town. Now, what we've seen in this last week is nothing more than political drama to cause as much damage to the Democratic Alliance as possible and to create that last bit of drama just before she vacated office. Obviously, that letter was sent by Mr. Maimane to the Speaker of Council. There has been mass debate as to who exactly she should have resigned to. There is actually no statutory provision that makes it clear to whom she should have resigned. And then dramatically on the stairs of the High Court today, she wrote another letter of resignation to Mr. Smith. What we're happy about is that she did stick to her end of the bargain, which was the internal charges in the DA were dropped, and on the 31st of October, she stepped down as Mayor of Cape Town.
Okay, let's quickly talk about Dirk Smith and what she said about him. Let's listen.
The Speaker, I know he's singing for his supper, and I know that they've told him to leave at the end of December. So, you know, this is a classical example of how the political manipulation of government systems by the Democratic Alliance, where they use the Speaker to do their dirty work. He knows what the law says. The law says that I must submit a resignation letter to him, the Speaker, and to nobody else. And he never received such a letter from me. But he lied yesterday. You know, he must live with his conscience. I'm not going to go after him. I publicly said that he's a liar and that he must go ask forgiveness from God. I don't have some time to waste with him.
Natasha, who's the liar there?
Well, you know, I'm not in the habit of calling anyone a liar. It's not the way I operate, and I think Ms. de Lille must live with her conscience too. I think, again, a hysterical outburst, completely unnecessary. The Speaker simply executing the mandate that he has. You know, it's not his fault. He's the Speaker of Council and simply doing his job. And another dramatic attempt at creating drama and creating confusion, which is nothing more than a political diversion from the actual case, which is the fact that criminal charges have been laid against Mr. de Lille by the City of Cape Town.
And as she says, a dramatic alliance, it certainly is. Thank you for talking us through everything that's been happening, Natasha Mazzone. Good to have you with us. Still ahead, will Cuba get its emancipation? That's up next.